We have a variety of people here. I'm really impressed. Welcome to the Comedy Basement. I trust you'll have a good time. I trust you'll come back. We try and put a smile on your face. And despite what everyone said, it was a big week for news, right? We have a few tourists here, right? And I don't know if you saw, there's a new Ministry of Tourism campaign. Have you seen any of the new sites here, right? We have all the famous burnt-out forest sites. Have you taken that tour from the National Parks Authority? We have the Defense Ministry, which gives you a tour of the viewpoints of all the invading flotillas. Anybody been on that tour? You haven't done much, huh? And we have the police give you a tour, of course, of all the famous hit and run spots, which is it's an Israeli epidemic. I don't know how many of you have seen it. In any event, there have been a lot of hit and runs, and of course the police are ready to institute a hit and stay class of felon because there's such rarities here in Israel, you know. And it is summer, and traditionally in the summer we have the anti-terrorism squad of the army puts out a warning on where you can't go, right? I mean, today we saw that. The missiles came in a little bit to Eilat, to Jordan. But the big news was that they said, yes, you can go to Turkey, right? I don't know. For those who haven't lived here, it's been this love affair. Turkey deals are achla, you know. You just can't beat a Turkey deal, and that's what the various workers' committees do. Anyway, and in Turkey, what has been the response to allowing us to go there? They had their very own anti-terror committee has said that no, watch out for the Israelis, you know, because the Israelis are a dangerous type, right? Anyway, the new Israeli tourist in Turkey, he gets there, and there are new sites. Again, if you're not a local, you don't know what it's like to get out of this country and to see the beautiful land of Turkey. Anyway, the new sites. The first new site, of course, is the ITT headquarters. Right? These are the Hamas links who tried to knock us off, and then, of course, there are all the anti-Israeli demonstrations. I don't know if you've seen any of those in Turkey. They're pretty hot right now. And, of course, the most famous site where every Israeli has to get photographed is the site from where the Marmara was launched. You know, this is the new Israeli hotspot in Turkey. And then, of course, this past week we had a lot. I mean, we're having a lot of fires all over the world. The world is ending. Finally, Al Gore gets his comeuppance. But we had a lot of fires here, and we had a fire here that was near Jerusalem. I don't know if any of you read this in the newspaper, right? And it was set by this Haredi boy. So, of course, what are we, the normal types, supposed to understand from that? Yes, the Haredim should spend all their time in the yeshiva. They're a lot less dangerous there than they are out in the forest. I mean, come on, who's going to let these kids roam free, okay? And of course, what did the teacher say when he saw him? When he saw the site, when he saw the fire that was flaming close to Hadassah Hospital, right? He says, "Oh no! I'm at Barzilai, right?" Okay, that's sort of a in-context joke. Ask your local Israeli to explain that one. Then we had today's news, of course, was Chaim Perelman. Anybody know Chaim Perelman? Anyway, yeah, he's this. Somewhere between alleged and convicted Jewish terrorist who was denied bail, okay? And so what's his story is that why can't he wait to get out? Because he's already been hired by the Dubai police, okay? And why has he been hired? Because he has outed so many Mossad agents that he is just, he's a hot topic. Okay. We had another news today was the cabinet voted mamash today's headlines. Mamash, actually today's headlines. They were going to expel 400 young kids of foreign workers. Right? Anybody read the newspapers? So you know, it's kind of weird. It's kind of tough on these kids. You know, they didn't know should they buy their notebooks and get ready for the next year or not, or what should they do. Anyway, out they go. And so the cabinet ministers, of course, would rather have not decided on this, you know, because this is a real, it's a real hot button issue. You know, they're pounding the table. This is not the Israel I moved to, whatever, and they'll shy. Out they go. Anyway, so the point was that they would rather have not decided and just let these kids grow up to be illegal foreign workers, and then they could have thrown them out, you know, without all the international outrage. And then, of course, yeah, if it leads, it bleeds, right? We had a lot of, in the last couple of weeks, high-profile rape cases, right? We had this guy, I won't go into the whole long sort of history, Dudu, quote-unquote, and he was an Arab who didn't deny it, and so now, largely as accounted for by the international press, he was convicted based on that. Okay, that's the background. The joke is, there was another high-profile rapist, right? A guy named Erez Efrati, okay? And he is part of the general staff, Ramatkal type soldiers, and he was convicted of attacking a woman, okay? What was his plea for mercy? At least I didn't impersonate an Arab. Okay, it doesn't fly. Okay, maybe it flies somewhere. The more mundane stuff was the foreign ministry. I know another headline today, right? The foreign ministry finally got the defense ministry to agree to raise the retirement age. Okay, Israel's. I don't know. I actually don't know what it is like in America or elsewhere, but here, 20 years in the army, out you go to pension. Not bad, not bad. Really, $1,000 a month, Tom, age 42. And even for, you know, economists who sit in the Kiryah. Anyway, the finance ministry got them to raise this retirement age slowly, that in 20 years the retirement age is going to be 50. Okay, that's the background. Okay, the joke is that having now raised this retirement age, the concern is that on the next what you call it, a commando operation, that the soldiers are going to be older than the judges. Okay? Anyway, okay. You had to live here to understand it. Okay, August, we just hit August, right? August 2nd or 3rd? August 3rd. 2nd, okay. Anyway, August is what happens in August? It is the big month for the induction into the army, okay? This is a real local phenomenon. My son last August went in, and all the soldiers, this is the largest giyus, 4 times a year, they induct the soldiers into the army, and in August is the largest. Okay, so what was the phenomenon this year? It was that these soldiers went their first night without Facebook, okay? Tough. It was tough. And even more than that was that they spent the whole summer watching these YouTube videos, right, of this paintball invasion of the ship, right? And they get to the army, and what do they find? That there's no paintball division. You know, I mean, what kind of an army is this? You know, they had their hearts. Forget the paintball. Okay. And then, you know, it was a weird phenomenon. You'll pardon my favorite leftist, Gidon Levy, says we're a necrophiliac nation because we revel in death, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the larger phenomenon, right, is that if it leads, it bleeds, right? That's a 21st century modern phenomenon. No one disputes it. Anyway, so last week we had two such stories that captivated the nation, right? We first had the Netanyahu father who murdered his 3 kids. And then we had the national mourning of these pilots and support people who died in the Romanian helicopter crash. Okay, that's the background of the joke. So the joke is that, or rather the reality is that, how did the psychologists convince these families to stop thinking about the Netanyahu bomber, the Netanyahu killer? It was that they told him, you know, think the pleasant thoughts about those poor helicopter types. Okay. The last big news headline was, of course, that Lieberman and Netanyahu got together, okay, and they had a pius, right? They had a what's the word in English? Anyway, they made up, okay? So the foreign ministry finally put out a headline that said, okay, this is it. We finally can think of a country where we're not at war with the prime minister. Okay, the last point was that Obama... All right, we'll leave it at that. My name is Pinchas Levinson. You'll find me on the Daily Slog. Thank you very much. You've been a lovely audience.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pinchas Levinson, everybody. Yes.